Well, let's go into game 2, because now Denial, well, they've guaranteed themselves 1 point in their opening set here, but they could go for the whole 3 here, Toli.
Well, they're going to need to if they want to secure a spot, a very good seeding, rather, going into the group stages for LAN.
Correct. 4 weeks of online play into 2 lands for NA, 2 lands for EU, but 4 lands total before we head into Super Regionals. Denial will be first pick, first ban once again, and to be fair, I wasn't upset with Allegiance's strategy in terms of picks and bans.
Not at all. They just couldn't really deal with the positioning from Homie when he kept flanking coming from the side. There just needs to be slightly more wards or more call-outs of where Homie is at every single stage of the game.
Well, in that case, as Allegiance, you look at banning some of the comp that they ran that game instead and look to run the same comp yourself?
No, because if you ban Neith and Uller and...
well,
maybe ban Kuang, but I don't even think it was the Kuang necessarily. I just think that it was the fact that it was the Bacchus and the double hunters in the mid to late game stages that made it difficult for Incon to really do anything. Weekend was getting poked out as well. Also, the synergy between those globals, they weren't effective because of how much pressure Denial just kept on putting on.
Well, Denial changed it up a little bit here. The Giannis ban coming through this time round, but that doesn't allow Denial once more with those bans to once again lock in the Bacchus.
It worked out the first game. Why wouldn't you do it again? So just running it back.
So Allegiance ran Thor this time round with Giannis was the first 2 picks here. Do you want to see a different jungler maybe now? Maybe take the Kuang away because it's open?
It depends on who you want to run in the mid to synergize off of it. There was just a lot of damage from Denial to make Kuang that much more useful with the Neith ultimate. So if that's something that Allegiance wants to go for, it wouldn't be a bad idea to pick up Kuang here, but they're going to take the Neith away.
They do, but they also pick up Amaterasu here for Cope, which is a very interesting one. Obviously, your first debut, first performance in the league, and you're going to be put on a negative matchup game 2 against, well, more than likely a negative matchup because Amaterasu doesn't have the greatest.
Well, she struggles a little early on, but once she gets her aura maxed out, she's just cruising up until those team fights happen. The attack speed, the movement speed and the physical power that she's going to provide in those team fights is just going to be too powerful.
Well, this time around, Denial not going to opt for the Kuang here. They're going to take the Thor away from Weak in this game, and I think that's just to make sure that the Neith-Thor combo does not go off this game with the globals.
However, with Denial, the Thor, they pair the Thor with the Vulcan as opposed to the Giannis, so there's going to be more crowd control. Off of the stun, you're going to be knocked up, and that's going to basically prevent any diminishing returns.
It's a good point. You can Bacchus flop in, followed by a Thor into a Vulcan, and lights out for you, but we will see the Kuang picked up by Allegiance here this time round. Not a real surprise when it's been left up and before the counterban phase.
Not at all, and that's going to be the strategy that Allegiance picks up from Denial. I honestly thought that it was going to be the Uller middle because it's Hurriwind, and he's been known to play the Uller, but it's going to be now Vulcan for him in the second game, going from a Hunter to a Mage.
Well, think about it a little bit more. I mean, Vulcan technically could go back to the duo lane once more. I don't think we'll see an issue with him going dual lane and having a Hunter mid. It's a possibility.
We've seen Vulcans before long ago in the past, but the reasoning behind it was a lot safer to go for poke with the meatball. It was a little bit further range than it is now. They nerfed it before. And there was also that mini stun, which would allow you to guarantee the ultimate on top.
Man, I want Vulcan to come back and duo. Talk about someone coming back. Geb for Allegiance here. Incon going to bring out Geb. We're not seeing him in a little while. That shield will come in handy against a lot that Denial have to offer in this composition here.
Pretty passive support, trying to pair up with the Kuang. Normally, you would think that you want to be all in and be aggressive. You have the Neith ultimate. You have the root as well, so you're trying to get the chain CC, trying to get somebody in execute threshold for Weekend.
This feels though that Incon and his boy there, Venenu, his new hunter in that position, are trying to find synergy in this lane still. And Incon's normally an aggressive player, but clearly last game, Venenu, in the laning phase when it was a 2v2, very passive, got poked out heavily. Maybe Incon just wants to sit back with him and protect him a little bit more this time round, getting through that early stage.
If you sit back too much in the dual lane, however, then you're going to give up too much in mid lane. The Kukulkan middle, but it is MLC stealth.
And Kukulkan, you know, he's still going to be viable. Tornadoes drop down, deal decent damage overall. Pretty good or global ultimate, but it's a very high damage and ultimate that can confirm Gold Furies and Fire Giants, and in narrow alleyways in the jungle can cause a lot of issues.
So this composition from Allegiance is focused primarily onto Shadowq. They want to burst him down with the Kukulkan, with Kuang as well. You're trying to get off that damage, get him into execute threshold, and that's why Shadowq is picking up the meditation.
But there's no CC. That's the only thing I see on the side of Allegiance here. Where's the CC coming from? You've got the World Weaver from Venenu, you've got the Geb ultimate. Weekend and MLC Stealth have slows. That's the best you've got, right?
It's very soft CCs because you have the knockup from Stealth's ultimate, which is you know, not really reliable. You have the silence coming out of Cope. You have an ultimate stun and the knockup from Incon. So there's some CCs. They just have to be able to execute it perfectly.
Well, at the start of the game, you can see how Allegiance are being very, very passive here. They don't want to go into their own jungle, worried about getting picked off early game, especially against that composition from Denial. You don't want to give up first blood for nothing. And even Incon here has elected for Blink, though, which shows that he's going to have to be one of the major initiators for this team.
Blink onto Geb is not something we haven't seen before. Incon doing an interesting strategy where he's going to build up his role just to do a lot of damage to the red buff and the back harpies. Great plan. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Well, it's because Geb got a little bit of extra help in terms of his rollout in the last couple of patches. That extra damage now comes through and applies straight away instead of having to charge up. So he's using the rollout to get all both camps, which is really helpful.
And this is how you can tell a player has been putting the time and effort outside the game, theory crafting about ways to min-max certain openings, and this is what makes Incon such an elite player.
Well, they're going to get themselves to lane at the same time here. Keep an eye on Shadowq, though. He has Meditate here, and they will look for aggression straight away onto Venenu, already dropped below 75% health.
But it doesn't really matter because once he gets the Unravel, he's going to get the Sustain. He just has to make sure that he gets the backflip first, because if he gets belly flop, that's going to be it for him.
A little poke with the rollout there coming out from Incon, ring around the roses. Not the easiest ability to land. Left-hand harpies will go the way of Denial this game. The right-hand one's not so sure, as I wasn't paying attention. Apologies for that, but talking about paying attention, right-hand side, well, Benji needs to watch himself. Still only level 2. Poketop still level 2. Doesn't have any escape by the looks of it, but I don't think they have the damage to bring him down.
He did connect the slow onto Weaken, so that's going to allow him to survive. And I like the idea and mindset for Allegiance, capitalizing on the fact that Vamanas do not get dash at level 2. You're trying to go for the wave clear with your third and second ability.
Weaken, right? And Weaken likes to camp solo lane. He did this for Cyclone Spin when those two were a synergy in this solo lane.
And this is so hit or miss. If Weaken gets the kill, this is all good. But now Benji is level 3, so obviously he's going to have the dash. So camping the lane, you're going to share experience with your solo laner, which is going to allow Stealth to get ahead on Kukulkan, hitting him level 5 as first. But it's going to hurt Cope in the long run.
I think it's going to hurt Weaken more than anything, because as long as Benji doesn't get off to a good early start here, he can't really bully the Amaterasu, you know, because he's worried about the pressure from the jungler.
It's really hard, though, for Vamana to get off to such an early start, especially against an Amaterasu that can clear pretty efficiently as well.
I expected like Vamana wouldn't that much, but a little bit harder now. I guess I was wrong.
No, not at all. But in the dual lane, regardless. Oh, great knockup, preventing the roll.
The body block follow-up. The wall is on point too.
There's nowhere to go.
The root from Venenu was good, but the wall is down. Great follow-up leap from Vetium as well. But Incon still stands tall. The double tap on the mark. The Impale blocked nicely from Venenu, but it won't matter. Vetium's in hand will secure first blood onto Geb.
And that's going to allow Vetium to get Transcendence before Venenu. Going to be able to try to look for these 1v1 trades. Now Incon, he's forced in a spot where he wants to start rotating for these mid rotations, but he has to sit back and do it now.
And that's the issue with Geb in the early stages. Can be bullied out a little bit, and that's what Denial looked to abuse and did so vitally at this stage of the game. So already first blood over in less than 3 minutes.
Well, there's still a positive that you can take from him, because now Venenu, he is going to get solo farm. He hits level 5 first. He has the World Weaver available. He could potentially throw that out, and Stealth and Weaken could look for a play, but because Weaken was sitting in soloing for so long, he's level 4 while Stealth is level 6.
And Stealth started off here looking for the Book of Toth very early on. Hasn't been back to base just yet, and we'll see if he goes for the boots or the fast Book of Toth rush. I guess if he can just sit back and play safe under the tower here, he could look at rushing that.
There has to be a play made with this Neith ultimate on the side of Allegiance. They're not really looking aggressively. Incon's going to group up in middle, but they're just going to go for their own speed buff instead.
Yeah, both teams taking their own speed buff. Blue buff's about to spawn as well. Red's on the table, and you can see the duo laners from both sides starting to rotate over there as well to make sure they soak up that experience.
Yeah, Hurriwind didn't really have that much mana on his Vulcan, so that could have been a decent team fight on the side of Allegiance, but I like them to play it super safe, especially the fact that they gave up the first blood earlier on.
It's just a simple situation for them now, because now with that first kill to the name, focus on duo lane, and their combo of crowd control was just so good, the way they used it. The wall to pin them off, the bounce to make sure they cancel the rollout, and nobody wasted any crowd control in that engagement at all.
There was double knockups between the Bacchus and the Anhur, perfect tectonic rift uses, and this is why Denial, they've just been so on point. Even if you put in, you know, Homiefe in the jungle position, these mechanics, all these junglers, they're just so aware of it.
Well, left-hand Harpy's going to go the way there of Denial. Is Stealth will take his first trip back to base here if he can. And what does he buy is the question. I'm just going to be interested. He's going to be full boots is on the left-hand side. Venenu under pressure here from Homiefe, but a very good route will keep him alive, but he's very low on mana.
Didn't even use the purification. He just knows the fact that Incon's right around the corner. He can survive that much little longer. Forcing out the Thor ultimate should be a lot safer now once he finishes off that Transcendence.
Ooh, there's a lot of poke onto Cope and answer back onto Benji. Benji from him as well, but the wave clear definitely in favor of Benji for the time being. Incon rolling in to the dual lane once more to soak this experience with Weaken, as Venenu was forced back to base.
He was forced back to base, but the timing was efficient enough as he did pick up the Transcendence, going to be able to stack that up, as well as Vetium, who's backed with a current 1-level lead. And the difference between these two teams, it seems like they're putting the red buff onto Vetium on the side of Denial, whereas they're putting the red buff onto Stealth for Allegiance. So it seems that they want these little 1v1 skirmishes in the duo.
Well, we'll see what Stealth can do with that red buff too, because we're not seeing him use the ultimate just yet. No real aggression of him, just focusing on farming up. However, Vetium feels like, yeah, like you said, you know, with that red buff, he's looking for aggression over there more times than not.
I still haven't seen the play that I was talking about from Allegiance where they focus out Shadowq, because he hasn't really put himself in a position to kind of get focused or isolated, and that's just his experience. He knows the strategy coming out of Allegiance, and he's doing a great job just holding hand-to-hand between Hurriwind and Homie.
And Allegiance with a hard lack of hard CC here, then they've got to be very careful with how they use it and make sure it counts every single time they do. Otherwise, they could have issues. Over to the solo lane, Cope, a little bit out of position here, a bit overextended at half health. Benji's going to be slapping him down, but just no abilities available to continue the poke.
He used the abilities onto Cope instead of the wave, so that's going to force him to sort of take a little bit more poke in exchange on this mini wave, because currently he doesn't have the Breastplate of Valor finished quite yet, so he's going to be taking a little bit of damage. Cope.
Left-hand side, a bit of pressure from Incon here, but at the same time, Homiefe was hanging around this right-hand side here between the jungle, sorry, the right-hand side of the solo lane and the mid lane, looking for the ultimate if he can, or even the speed buff invade.
The buffs aren't respawning quite yet, but speed buff will respawn in about 15 to 20 seconds. Thor ultimate a little off the mark. It is a level 9 Amaterasu against the 7th Thor. That was a very bold idea.
It was, but if they did manage to commit and force Cope back, then they could have looked for something. But talking about looking for something, Allegiance with the Gold Fury here, they have Stealth with the big Dragon ultimate available to burst this one down. They're not even going to use it, you know. And the Gold Fury got stolen by Denial.
Stole it.
That was the latest ultimate from a Kukulkan I've seen in a very long time.
The timing was just not there. The communication, they needed to communicate it, and the one at the Desert Fury Spear stole it. The Vulcan ultimate from a distance, a little off the mark, backflip. Venenu trying to survive. Denial, they steal the gold. They get a kill onto Incon. They're still going in.
Not going to get the Impale off of the one kill. Will Weaver needs to be blocked by Shadowq, and because of that, you can see Venenu giving up the idea of going for that, but they get the Gold Fury. Vetium alone with the Desert Fury that just came through big for his team.
That was just so clutch coming out of Vetium. He needed to get that Gold Fury to make sure Allegiance had no opportunity to go for these sneaky plays and get themselves a lead.
And not only that, they steal away the blue buff, but pressure onto Benji here, who's very low on mana. He needs his ultimate if he can get it online, and he does just in time. The sustain is now there, and he will get away scot-free.
Not really much to do, but the rest of Allegiance, they want to continue, maybe steal the speed buff away. Homie has to reset it. Weaken looking for the cleanup. The hammer not available. Homie just going to get the back rights instead.
Yeah, speed buff goes the way for each team now, just trading them out as the match goes on. Incon, though, in the jungle could be a bit isolated here. We'll use the rollout to get back to safety one more time as everybody slows the pace down all of a sudden, only 8 minutes in.
Just trying to go for some sort of aggressive play was Allegiance. Instantly gets answered back by Denial. Now, their strategy just gets shut down. They see it the first time, and now they're going to be expecting it again. So they're going to have wards getting ready, making sure that now it's not just going to be Vetium contesting the Gold Fury next time. It's going to be more than likely 3 or more.
But even if that was the case, though, totally, when I look at it, I mean, you've still got the Kukulkan, right? That Kukulkan is so strong at securing objectives. There's not many abilities that can really out-damage it in terms, especially in this game with no Wrath.
And the problem was also the fact that Venenu used the Spirit Arrow before Stealth used his ultimate. Yeah. So they needed to communicate that to be used at the same time. The fact that one Desert Fury Impale managed to sneak in between those two cooldowns is not acceptable at this level.
Well, I guess it's good to have it happen at the start of the season and not when it's crunch scenario at the end, I guess. You know, the LAN, make these rookie mistakes now, get these guys through the first couple of games, work out the small issues we've got in communication, and go from there.
Absolutely. It's all about progress. The season is very long. All these teams are still guaranteed to go into the LAN where those stages matter the most.
For sure. 2 kills for the side of Denial, though, as I said, and it was both onto Incon on the Geb at the start of the game here. He's still working on towards some extra CC, but there's a Desert Fury coming out from Venenu. So Vetium, he's looking for the trade with Venenu, and he might actually get it. He needs one more in hand, and he finds it, but now he's a little bit too caught out of position.
The patience from Vetium securing that last in here. Now still trying to find the return kill. Great use of purification, recognizing the kill was coming out.
But he doesn't get the tornado, and instead he's getting chunked down. Vetium is still going in here, but the ult from Stealth is on point. He didn't want to use it, but he was forced to.
That jump basically guaranteed the ultimate out of stealth, so trading 1-for-1 Hurriwind, the ultimate just unfortunately not in range to be able to find the return kill, but poking out Weaken currently, he has to force him out.
Yeah, he just forced out the Intoxicate. Very good from Shadowq there just to relieve the pressure. A whole mid-wave of experience, though, he's fallen on the side of Allegiance because it's on the right-hand side. Well, you see Homiefe dunking down around the back, trying to support Benji, and the wall is not going to connect. Very good work from the new solo laner, Cope.
The timing of that dash, just barely able to sneak through that wall. Going to be able to survive the second gank in a row from Homie. Just trying to get to the mid to late game form on this Amaterasu. Almost finished with a breastplate.
Blink cackles in front. Incon looking to secure the speed buff for his team. Not sure if he got it, but what he will do is continue the chase, it seems, as over to the right-hand side we go. Both low on mana.
Very low. Benji, enough mana for one ability. The last mana used by Cope just to sustain. And now Allegiance, they recognize just how low Benji is, has to back, so they're going to go for this speed.
And Incon, sorry, across the way, Homiefe did steal away that speed buff, but he just can't go and pick it up is the biggest problem here. Speed buff's going to take a few more seconds for Allegiance to take. It starts to flash now, so now they have the opportunity.
And not really in position is Denial quite yet. They're still in the mid lane hovering around. Allegiance going to sneak this for no problem. They did spot it out with a regular ward, so instead they saw that Incon use his ultimate. So I'm kind of surprised that they didn't elect to go for it, but the fact that Homie doesn't have his ultimate, Hurriwind's ultimate is still down, they're going to respect that.
Well, so far it's about 3,000 gold lead for Denial here, most of it coming down to that gold fury that was stolen earlier on from the boys. They did get the first blood as well, which helps with that gold lead. Experience-wise, though, when I look at the two teams, it's ever so slightly in favor of Denial, but it's not that much.
It's not that big of a lead where you can start grouping up and forcing team fights. You're still trying to find some people out of position. We saw Vetium playing very aggressively between the tier 1 and the tier 2. He knows that the Anhur's capabilities are just slightly better in the 1v1 than a Neith is.
Well, look at the two mid laners now, Hurriwind and MLC staff. I've not mentioned Hurriwind on the Vulcan just yet, but he's got a very good ultimate as well for securing objectives, and both of them working on their builds. Now, Book of Thoth is completed for Kukulkan, which is something you want to see all the time. Meanwhile, Hurriwind gone for the Bancrofts here.
And it's not just about the ultimate for Hurriwind's damage, it's all about the meatball setup with the Tectonic Rift from Homie. Even though like these ultimates from Homie haven't really been on the mark in the solo or dueling, he's still doing a great job alleviating a lot of pressure for his team. Now the Vamana, he has a 1-level lead, and Anhur as well.
Well, on the left-hand side there, you saw Venenu just backflip at the right time as we saw a gang from Homiefe. To the right-hand side we go, though, and continuing the fight between Benji and Cope over in the solo.
Just trying to do a great job boxing. Meditates are online for both players, so it's not really going to matter in the 1v1. It's all about who's going to join that 1v1.
Good little poke from Homiefe, but his hammer's down now, so that means he can rotate in for Vetium, who's over-aggressive there. Forced to jump away and use the pillar too. But now Shadowq leading the boys of Denial back in one more time. They're looking to stun out Weaken here. Don't manage to find it though to Shadowq, and because of that, well, everybody's just going to back away for a second. Incon though, a little bit out of position.
Great jukes, but the shield's not going to really matter. Homiefe forced to disengage as well. Allegiance, they really need to exploit the fact that of how aggressive Denial is, but without Incon really there to use his ultimate and knock up, their initiation just isn't as good as Denial.
Yeah, shaky from both teams here in terms of the abilities landed in that little skirmish there, but Gold Fury being looked at here. Back to base goes Copebby, has teleport available, as does Benji, both out of mana though, so they're both going to be heading back at the same time, and I think Denial and Allegiance both recognize they don't know where the solo lanes are, so we'll just call it a day and head back to farming. 13
minutes into the game, Denial looks like mid lane, going to force out the Purification and the ultimate out of Hurriwind. Thor's going to disengage as well.
Yeah, Shadowq took a lot of poke there, but it's actually Weaken the one that's really under pressure there onto Homiefe, and everybody going to fall back once more. Shadowq poked out with the solo lanes possibly being around, but Homiefe, he's not done. He knows the speed buff might be going on, and he's looking for it, you know, looking for the double tap. Only gets a single. Berserker Barrage was on the mark, but cancelled out nicely from Weaken's ultimate, and instead, Homiefe pays the iron price.
I'm surprised he didn't just straight up use Berserker Barrage instead of using that hammer. It would have confirmed the kill. There's two targets next to you, so you're getting a lot of physical power from your passive anyway, and you're not really going to miss your Berserker Barrage. It's a more guaranteed damage.
Shout out to Weaken though for the reaction with the ultimate there, just to knock him up to make sure he couldn't continue doing that. The Purification came through in time though from Homiefe, but it wasn't enough to save him.
Not at all. Could have also used Purification and Berserker Barrage to prevent that sort of stuff.
Very, very difficult situation. Gold Fury has respawned though, and I did see a grouping from Denial for a second or two, but I think it's just Ward Wars as the two solo lanes continue boxing boxing away. 8.4k player damage there for Benji so far this game.
And unfortunately for Allegiance, despite getting the kill onto Homiefe, the respawn timers are too short to really exploit that currently. Now, they do have the ultimate onto Stealth to maybe have gone to Gold Fury, but the fact that they were all positioned around that speed buff, the travel time to go from speed to the Gold Fury, Homiefe would have respawned at that point.
Just keep it on the solo lanes here. I know we keep going back to him, but I was just looking at what I saw on the map there. Ward's placed by Cope. He's actually placed 7 already in 14 minutes. It's an average of 2 a minute overall. He seems very worried about being ganked, and I guess that's just nerves for him as well, Tony.
Well, you're dealing with a Thor. And you've already gotten ganked twice, so you're going to try to get off as many wards as possible.
He's still dead.
And the thing is, you're by warding in the soul lane, you're opening up the dual lane side because you're trying to sneak Gold Furies with MLSD Stealth's ultimate. That's the idea that Allegiance has.
Well, over on the left-hand side, near that Gold Fury, you see Vetium going aggressive again for those boars, and last time around Allegiance responded, and they do again. But on the right here, a little bit of pressure from Cope, and he may get punished for this. Out of mana here, forced to ult. He won't get a stun. It didn't hit with the first shot. Now out of mana, going towards mid. It's not the place you want to go, my friend.
Getting caught out. His team not really in a position to save him. That's going to be a kill by Hurriwind.
Oh, the Vulcan ult was good, and now Homie in the sky looking at options. It will be Stealth, Purify from Stealth. The ult comes out, but a Sank for Sank is trading too. Still going aggressive is Benji with support of Homie, and Homie gets credit for the kill. World Weaver comes through, blocked by Benji. Incon walks away.
And we can force a farm on the right because he recognized that teamfight was done, but this 1v1 isn't done. Vetium, he wants to kill. The heal is too good, but the Desert Fury is going to force out the Sanctuary. He just needs to connect on 2 more in. He has forced the Purification.
Great Purification.
Great 1v1 by Vetium.
Fantastic work from both of them there. Venenu a little bit out of position overall. Good recovery of the Sanctuary though, but that choice of routing was telegraphed nicely from the experienced Denial Hunter, and because of that, did now get an extra kill and the Gold Fury.
And now with that spike, they're going to be able to really start grouping up for these team fights. The experience and gold in their favor at this stage. It's a pretty nice, comfortable lead going into 16 minutes.
And the farm on the left-hand side a little bit more here as Vetium does hit level 17. Not going to push the tower down though. Instead, head back to base, spend some of that gold from those last engagements to see what he ends up building into here. It's going to be Executioner. Obviously, it is Anhur this time round. And I think that's what we may see going forward is Hunters based off what they focus on, abilities, raw auto attacks, mix up the build because of it.
It's also maybe a timing issue where maybe Denial wants to go for these team fights right now, whereas Shinsai's would be a little bit more delayed. And the fact that Denial are coming off of that huge win and the Gold Fury, it's not a bad idea to start grouping up and forcing engagements.
I guess it's also the fact as well that when you look at their composition, you're really looking to just pick off Kukulkan and Neith and Kuang, who are squishier anyway, and that Executioner will help them out a little bit. Benji and the solo lane continue to farm up. Has the Frostbound Hammer Breastplate a Valor build, which we've seen more often than not on these solo lane Vamanas.
Going to be rewarded and pick up the blue buff that he stole away from Cope, unfortunately. Not able to really contest that as his team was still respawning. And now look how aggressive Denial is positioned. They're controlling more than half of the map, just how pushed up they are.
Yeah, I'm seeing MLC stuff in the mid lane here, but looks like it could be a Warlock Sash, more than likely a Gem of Isolation, I guess, at this stage of the game. It's 17 minutes in, but if he does double stack, we'll find out where he ends up going with that as an Antile. As you can see, pointed out by the cameraman there, on the side of Homiefe.
He's trying to get the magical defense and a little bit of cooldown reduction to stack with that Jotun's Wrath. So he's going to be able to constantly spam, and getting in and out with those hammers is so important. Nice wall and disengage. Homie's going to go in the sky.
Really smart from them, but still Vetium under a bit of pressure. Most of that pressure absorbed there by the Sanctuary, but now Weaken walks in the jungle and doesn't see the options coming. Hurriwind off the mark with the ultimate. Meatball connects, but a good disengage from Allegiance. Maybe they want to go again now.
Incon's going to use his ultimate, the Tornado as well, but not going to use the ultimate quite yet. Still being very patient is Stealth.
Very messy fight. It's Incon out of position, now surrounded, running through the jungle, trying to get away, getting a bit of support if he can from his team that are now trying to collapse back in. Very deep in there is Weaken, who disengages. The Tornado does hit onto 2. It's just not hitting prime target. Stealth looking for more kills.
He's being so patient with his ultimate, and Homie knows it, so he's saving his hammer just to be able to disengage. So far, it's been a 2 for nothing in the favor of Allegiance.
Look at what happens in mid lane here. Benji is pushing it down, though, forcing somebody to come and defend. Incon could not stop this alone here.
No, the knockup is not going to be able to really clear the wave, and Benji recognizing this, he's just going to farm. He's going to get the mid wave. He's going to go split on the right as well. Maybe take the back right, but he's going to lose the tier 1, and if he's not there for the tier 2, there's going to be problems.
And instead a teleport comes through from Benji to make sure and engage from Shadowq. Venenu just ulted, so backflip there into an awkward position, but it's going to work out in their favor after Stealth follows up. Shadowq will fall to the tornado damage, but at the same time, Benji did pick up Weaken, and still going in is Benji.
Not a favorable trade at all for Allegiance, trading your jungler for the support. That's what you want as Shadowq sacrificing his life, and that's a strategy that Allegiance wanted to do in the beginning of the game, force out the belly flop aggressively from Shadowq, and then instantly counter-engage with the ultimate, with the Spirit Arrow, putting him in place to allow Weekend to find the kill.
Very interesting game between these two teams as well. With the Gold Fury going down the second time now for Denial as well. They continue to extend the gold lead, even though that tier 1 tower answer back on the left-hand side gives them a 4,000 gold lead at this stage.
The Silence are going to need to be able to catch up. Cope and Venenu are a level behind their counterparts. So with this little bit of a delay between Gold Fury respawning, they should be able to farm and catch up as this game progresses.
Just farm and play safe. Player damage you can see on the left-hand side, it is the Denial solo and Hunter, which we kind of expected coming into this could be the situation where they look to bully out their new opposition in the league.
They're just so aggressive, Benji and Vetium. They really, really like to take these 1v1 skirmish fights, especially Vetium. He recognizes the advantage and the power spikes at every single given moment, and the fact that Benji is the one that's being aggressive, he forces the rotations.
And Benji is going to get forced onto by Weekend there. Copey giving a bit of support, but Benji's not going to panic too much there. He turned some poke and just walked away. No use in blowing the ultimate just yet.
Just being very patient. We do have a rotation from Homie on the side. Weekend 2 levels behind Homie, so he has to watch out. His health pool is not that high.
And Incon is now rotated over to the right-hand side again to help support his teammates, which means that Venenu's going to be careful on the left-hand side as that tower is on its last legs. And he's going to play safe as how aggressive the Anhur has been all game.
Venenu was rotating middle, but now there's going to be a wave that's going to enter that tower. And luckily for him, Vetium decided not to push out Denial, recognizing that Gold is respawning about 30 seconds. They want to be able to get a little bit more power spike as the Titan's Bane, I'm sorry, the Jotun's Wrath? Or is that Brawler? So that's going to be worked on by Vetium.
We'll see where he ends up going to here, because he's got a couple of options with that build option there. See where it's going to overall. Gold Fury is about to respawn in 8 seconds though. Wall control is definitely in Denial's favor, and they're going to actually be ready for the immediate time it spawns here. Is Benji. Well, he's keeping it busy on the right hand side, and that's fine for him. Meanwhile, Incon's just called out that the Gold Fury is being done, and he's under a lot of pressure.
But it really grouped up MLC Stealth using the Tornado. Incon is going to go down off the mark. Was the Dragon going to be reset? Denial now setting their sights onto the gold.
And on top of that, the Kukulkan up from Stealth being used there means that there's no real secure here for Allegiance to get back into this one. Venenu is hanging around the left-hand side here as they're chasing onto Weekend in the jungle. Joining him now is Cope from a teleport on the Amaterasu. Will they engage is the question. Cope will lead in the team for now on his own, and Gold Fury goes the way of Denial. No steal this time round, Nama, and he's going to have to ult away, but into the sky goes Homie.
Trying to connect onto Cope. Going to dash away before landing his Homie, so washing that into the ground. Incon going to respawn relatively soon, but it's going to be difficult defending this tier 2 mid tower. It's already really low.
It is, because the poke has been applied to it just by minions here, and a few members on low health here. Very difficult for Allegiance to defend this one. They will have to give it up as Anhur is there with all the boys.
And now with that, it's going to be an 8,000 gold lead on the side for Denial. They're going to want to keep on the pressure, switching their sights to the solo lane. They can make this positional switch after getting the gold.
Surprised we don't see Vetium come all the way over here, because this was a free tier 1 tower here, but instead he hung around in the jungle a little bit, looking at the potential area around the fire giant, and so because of that, well, they released some pressure, and the pressure is actually onto Benji now.
Benji still has his ultimate, so he should be fine, no problem. It's
but
only
now Incon, he just rolled in. They know his rollout's down, and Incon was trying to commit for his team. Impaled, but he doesn't hit the wall for now. The flop on the mark, but good cackles from Incon to respond. We can force down the back of this as they're still looking at Incon. That pillar from Vetium was perfectly placed. The ult from Stealth connects, but it's not enough damage to bring down any member of Denial.
Not at all. Homie's still a little low. Weekend gonna basically blink into the stun from Homiefe, not allowed to get off any sort of abilities.
Cope does get hit by the ultimate. As into the sky goes Homie, looking around. Where can he find an option? He's going to stick with his team. Dives the tier 1 tower. Shadowq tanking it up. Meditation comes out. Keeps him up. Good sanctuary online for Venenu, but it's not going to keep him alive for long. Vetium is there to clean up the kill.
That's going to be 3-0 on the side of Denial. And now I'm just going back to blink Weekend. Stealth's going to fall here more than likely. His bench is going to force out the Sanctuary. He doesn't have ultimate to get the sustain or really the mana, so he's just going to slither on out. But going back to that blink play from Weekend, blinking in and then getting instantly stunned by Homie.
And I don't think Homie even knew that was coming. He was looking at a different target there, but it was just so beneficial. It's like, great, we killed the mage. We took the mage out of the fight. That's a big key for them, because that's the turnaround point here. The Kuang, which is still trying to work on his build. Only level 14. There's a 3-level lead now between him and Homiefe.
And it's especially an Kuang that wants to get to the late game form. He doesn't have the Rada Tahuti quite yet, or the Soul Reaver, and the fact that the Thor has so much cooldown reduction, has the Brawler speed stick to be able to really do a lot of anti-healing on the side of the Neith. and Amaterasu, a lot of these targets are going to be very squishy because of this.
Yeah, a lot of penetration on the side of Vetium here, as well as you can see for Homiefe in the jungle, obviously along that side of the and Sile. They're bursting targets down very quickly, they group up.
And it's going to be the Crusher on the side for Vetium. He really wants to get these objectives as soon as possible. Once the Fire Giant fights start rolling around with this 9,000 gold lead on the side of Denial, they should be able to close it out. It's going to be about a 5-second siege with that Crusher.
Well, the Fire Giant is available here. Do you want to start sieging this up as Denial now, Toli? I mean, it seems like the right sort of position to do it, right?
They're doing a great job, Denial, by baiting out Allegiance so far on opposite ends, not necessarily inside the Fire Giant pit, so they can keep utilizing Shadowq and Homie to get off the damage that Vetium and Hurriwind really needs to apply.
Well, it seems that play, because you're talking about this, they're looking at the Fire Giant, because they've sent Benji to the left-hand side, and there's 2 members of Allegiance here looking to bring him down, but instead, Benji deals enough damage to Venenu to slow them down for a second. But while this is happening, on the right-hand side of things, Denial position themselves nicely, looking for picks.
I'm really surprised by Allegiance's mindset, trying to go for the Vamana on the left. He's just too tanky right now, with all his items still having meditation and his ultimate. They need to be more focused onto the Fire Giant.
Blink Cactus from Incon, but great Desert Fury responding onto Vamvision. The shield forced onto Incon, onto himself to stay alive, but weakened around the back. May see Hurriwind exiting stage left, but at the same time, the whole team of Denial are doing the same thing.
Hurriwind recognizing that Weaken's right behind, using the backfire just to get a little closer to Shadowq and Homie to bail him out. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, Benji still split pushing. He feels very confident that the rest of his team should be able to get away.
This is a win, right, for Denial? I mean, they're going to be able to pressure this tower. Benji's actually thinking about recalling here. I think he thinks the minion's going to do it, but no, he'll take it, knowing that his team's okay for now.
He wants to be spotted on the mini-map by Allegiance and force a fight in a 4v5 and then teleport in to get the cleanup, and that's what you have to do as Vamana.
And Cope does have the teleport available on the Amaterasu, but he's dealing with Vetium on the right-hand side, which means the rotation from Allegiance is all to the left. 3 members heading over to deal with Benji, taking down the tier 2 tower. In the jungle is Weaken. He avoids the knock-up, but takes a lot of free poke in response as well. Benji ults very early as Shadowq and the boys of Denial turn up to support.
World Weaver forcing out the ultimate from Benji, going to be disengaged as Shadowq zoning away Allegiance. Incon was thinking about rolling in, but that turret's going to deter him away.
Golf Fury down for another 20 seconds here. Denial secured every single one so far this game, 3 in total to be exact. And with that Golf Fury about to spawn again, we could see the map open a little bit more.
Vetium still in a 1v1 against Cope, and with this amount of penetration and just being on her in general with his passive, Cope can't really fight 1v1. Has to bait him out kind of and allow Weaken to get in position, but recognizing this, Vetium's just going to back and disengage.
Well, I mean, his build here seems to be chins, because he's basically picked up every single thing from that tree here. Assy, execution, and more than likely chins for the final item, unless he's going to do some
He's just going to leave it tier 2. It's just going to leave it tier 2. He's going to sell it later on, you know.
We'll never know what he finishes. No. That's what it'll be. The game will end before he actually gets that chins complete.
This is going to be a balance right for the rest of the game.
So sit back and relax for a moment or two. That's what both teams are doing. Allegiance, they're basically just looking for farm to catch up a little bit. The closer they can get themselves to level 20, the less this experience matters. But the item difference, well, you can see that yourself here. Near enough everybody in the side of Denial, almost 6 items in their inventory. The side of Allegiance, they're 4.5 even.
It's really unfortunate looking at these item differences, and they still have a decent amount of base damage. Venenu does a lot, Stealth does a lot as well, but they need to really find a way to get Weaken to execute somebody, because we really haven't seen that out of him. He has 0 kills currently, and every time he goes in, he just, whether or not it's intentional, he gets focused and drops.
But I mean, both Game 1 and Game 2, Allegiance seem to have been very reactionary to what Denial threw at them. Instead of being the aggressors here, I can understand maybe being a reactionary in this game, and I think that was the plan with having such a defensive lineup in terms of the Geb for the Cataclysms, but then you've got no engage at all, really, other than Blink Cataclysm, which has been answered every single time by Denial.
I think the focus was on the Bacchus, they just weren't successful.
Great Sanctuary straight away from Hurriwind, but good way from Weaken to force that one. He gets poked out himself here. Great meatball too from Hurriwind. That puts a lot of pressure down. The tornado from Stealth, and a good point, only hitting Shadowq. Tier 1 tower falls, but in the sky goes Thor.
And there's no jump here from Vetium, but forced back in the backline instead for going onto Stealth. Sanctuary being used. The tornado, I think, was on the mark, and that's going to be dead for Homie.
No, he's actually going to survive for a second, but Hurriwind will clean up. Meanwhile, Stealth, whose ultimate was completely off the mark there, a security kill. Benji is hunting down Venenu here. Come here, son. Sunshine. Neith knocked up. Has he got the damage to burst him down? No is the answer as Weekend comes back in. But Weekend meets Vetium, and Vetium wins.
Vetium always wins, winning the 1v1s, helping out Benji as well. And now that's going to be a win for the rest of Denial as they're going to go for the Fire Giant after securing those 2 kills.
2 kills down, and nobody can get back in time from Allegiance here. This will be a free Fire Giant. 20 minutes, 8 minutes in game. Vetium with that sort of build will not take him long alone to bring this Fire Giant down.
Not at all, and now it's looking really grim for Allegiance to try to get back into this game. The positioning from Denial has just been on point, making it very difficult to stick on Hurriwind because he can always meatball himself, put down the turrets, very difficult to chase him down, and anytime Incon goes in, he's going to get instantly focused as well.
I'll tell you what, Tolly, when I'm looking at these two teams though right now, Denial, I'm looking at them maybe making the run potential here. They've got the roster for this. It looks like they've got some decent synergy so far. Maybe 1 or 2 things to improve on going forward. But the side of Allegiance as well, I mean, they've got 2 rookies here. This is a pretty good squad that I've seen out of them so far today. They're just going to work on communication a little bit more.
To say Denial is going to go on a run off of this one set, it's a little ambitious.
I'm just looking at the way they perform as a team, because obviously Homiefe, Hurriwind joined the squad.
Sure.
And they seem to find the synergy already, which is great. The CC abilities we've seen coming out from Homiefe combining with the support, very important to a good team.
But like you mentioned before, it's also against the 2 rookies from Allegiance that are still trying to find their wings. They want to be able to transition into the SPL in a good manner. They want to make a name for themselves. They want to be able to get wins under their belt for Allegiance. And for this set currently against the squad of Denial, it hasn't really been working out for them. Their game plan was there. They just weren't able to execute it because of how aggressive Denial was. So Allegiance, picking up these passive gods with Gab as well as the Neith, it just wasn't working out for them.
Well, on top of that as well, don't forget, boys and girls, this is the first day of the SPL being back. This is the second set of the day. We've got 2 more to bring you as well. All North American teams will compete on day 1, so if you wait for your favorite team to show up, they will be more than likely following this set.
And after this set, it's going to be Luminosity against Thor, so that should be another interesting one. But going back to this game, Denial with the Fire Giant still, they want to be able to get these Phoenixes off the board.
Yep, just poking down all the tier 2 towers for now. They've all been shredded, and immediately Denial do what they did last game and head straight to the left-hand side here, looking for the left-hand Phoenix.
It's the most important Phoenix to go for because as soon as your Fire Giant buff wears off, if you secure that left side Phoenix, the enemy team, Allegiance, they have to be able to not only defend your Fire Giant, but also defend the left.
And it's the solo lane and the Hunter from Denial again that are going off this game. 22,000 player damage, 19,400 player damage at the moment for Vetium as well. Closest person to them is a Kukulkan that's only sat at 12k.
And he hasn't really been able to get off his ultimates because of all the sanctuaries being used by Homie.
I agree, and the Tornado's not really been on the mark too much either to apply more damage, but Shadowq tanking up, Incon forced to engage and slow them down. Meatball off the mark from Hurriwind as Vetium disengages too. Meanwhile, mid lane, Benji is keeping Cope busy. He's poked that tower to the Phoenix to half on his own.
Forcing out a lot of relics on the side of Vetium. Both of them are down, but it looks like Allegiance, they're not really going to capitalize on that.
But, I mean, look at the fact that what's he going to engage with? That's the question. Incon forced to jump in again with a rollout, but no cataclysms to follow up. Desert Fury used by Vetium there. That's the first element in the game. Shadowq flopping in, Intoxicate on 2 as they're trying to force this one down on the back lines while the rest of the team focus on the Phoenix.
So close was Homie with a double tap connects, but just not enough damage. Still forced out the Sanctuary. Cope going to be very low, going to get stunned out. Knockup from Incon is going to help him survive, but Homie using the Sanctuary away from Stealth's ultimate.
Yeah, and just split the uprights with that as well. Now Denial, same thing as last time. The only difference is nobody has died on the side of Allegiance just yet, but Denial still want 3 Phoenixes in a row. Meatball connects onto Venenu from Hurriwind. Good wall from Homie to slow them down once more. Tornado just to clear out the creeps.
Have to be so careful from those meatballs, but the front line from Denial, it makes it so difficult to do anything, as we're going to see Benji dive Venenu, and in the backside, Hurriwind, he's going to force the Sanctuary.
Yeah, Cope was trying to keep busy on the back onto Hurriwind now. Weekend was with him, but still Cope under pressure here as Benji sending the way the rest of the team, which allows the final Phoenix of the game potentially to fall in Denial's favor.
And now the Titan is extremely vulnerable, going to get dropped out very low. The rest of Denial, they're trying to get their second win of the set to get 3 points starting off their SPL season.
Well, they might be slowed down for a second here because Allegiance with that Tornadoes coming out from staff could hold a little bit, but Homie takes to the sky hairs on the left-hand side. Weekend trading with Benji, and I don't think Weekend's going to have a happy time in a second as the flop comes down. Not even needed. Benji gets credit for the kill. Still, though, they're waiting for fire minions here, Denial, to try and end this one.
That was about a 2 to 3 minute engage between finally finding the first kill. The Vulcan ultimate not on the mark. Great separation from Allegiance, but this Titan can't can't really separate away from Denial.
Well, they keep resetting at the moment, but now the Fire Minions are there. It will have Mount Meatball on the mark one more time. Cope forced out as Shadowq flops in. The Titan falls, and Denial, well, they're going to go top of the SPL with only 2 sets played because they pick up all 3 points.
And that's going to be so important to try to get a really good seeding in their group stages to head into the LAN. You want to be able to get as many points now before the LAN comes out, and then just win those 2. All you need to do is get top 2.
Get something to do your best anyway, and then you can see the points on your screen. Green equals a point, so you can see Envy and Randozos, where they were 1-1, so it's 1 point each, and Denial, they won both their games against Allegiance here, 2-0, so they get 3 points. So good situation for Denial to be in right now.
Just great synergy, I would say, this game by Homie and Hurriwind. Both games, actually. They were able to run the Hunter and the Mage on the Kuang for Homie, and they made it work.
Did you really feel, though, that those boys really made the biggest impact on the team? For me, it looked like it was more abuse of the new players here coming out from the solo laner and the Hunter.
Well, honestly, it was more trying to abuse MLC stealth in the first game, right? True. Always getting his through space and times off, not being able to use the side lanes. And then we saw so many 1v1s between Venenu and Vetium.
Venenu and Vetium, yeah. I mean, there was going at it a very early game in game 1 where Venenu actually found the kill on Vetium, and then Vetium answered it back as well in game 2. And here's a little look at Vetium in that game 2 where he steals that gold fury. You can see how just a little bit too late. They just didn't communicate it very well at all, did they?
Maybe they didn't know Vetium was coming around the corner, and they wanted to save the ultimate from stealth to maybe force something out. But either way, if you're going to pick up the Kukulkan, you want to be able to secure the objectives with it.
But Vetium this game as well, there was a lot of instances here, we may not see it, where he used his relics and even his ultimate
That was the stun.
Well.
That was the stun that instantly blew up Weaken right off the bat. He wasn't allowed to really do any damage in these team fights.
Good performance from Denial then, and they've got themselves in a very good point. They even continue going in here, as you can see with the follow-up. And just great work overall for day 1. You know, you want to get off to a good start. It's the best way you can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming off with a 2-0, and you also, not only you got the 2-0, but you did it in a very convincing fashion that I don't think there was a majority of the game where Denial didn't have a lead against Allegiance.
I think there was maybe one time when they got a goal Fury Allegiance, but other than that, I think Denial felt very comfortable through the whole set. Didn't really get forced out of the comfort zone inside the picks either.
And it seemed like their obvious strategy from that last set was going for the Bacchus first pick. They liked the knockup from Bacchus. They also went for the Vulcan in the second game that really synergized off of the Thor.
Well, the first part of this split is over. Well, sorry, the first part of the split is one thing. There's still the second half to go as well, where you go to the LAN stages. We've only 2 games played so far. We're going to see the third coming up next between LG and who was the other one? Thor?
Thor.
It's Thor. Be right back with that after this break.